Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today this video is about personal growth and elevating your success through personal growth. And I'm going to make it very simple in 5 sections, but I really think now more than ever, it's so important for us to understand that personal growth is a journey, not a destination. And the reason why we need it is because we need to continuously be growing within ourselves and confident and able to take on challenges that otherwise we would just really be worried about. And we know that risk doesn't equal to failure, but risk means that you're actually pushing yourself towards and taking yourself outside of your comfort zone for a better life and for you to be able to experience what you can actually do and what you can't do. So let's jump right into this video. I'm going to make it into 5 different sections, but I will break it down. But it is so important to know that you can elevate your success through personal growth even further than you would have expected. So the first section is about cultivating authenticity. It's so important to understand that we have to be authentic. Like for me, I've struggled a little bit of time with knowing that how do I be myself without being judged? How do I continuously be able to say things within how I feel and not be judged by it? But I started to realize that there has to be some sort of definition of who I believe I am. And once you believe who you are, you're going to become more authentic. You're not going to care about people's judgments and defining yourself and looking yourself in the mirror. You have to be aware of who you are so that you're not accepting anyone's opinion or anyone's judgment towards you. So being authentic really starts from within. So when you're aware, you understand your beliefs, your values, and you're actually able to reflect within yourself and talk to yourself with all honesty. Just like you would expect a friend to tell you the truth about yourself, you should be honest with yourself. If you have areas of growth or things that you need to be held accountable, you need to start doing that, because you're never ever going to reflect reality and truth outside and becoming your full self if you're not honest with yourself. That's just not going to work. And within being authentic, you also have to be consistent. So if you're a person who loves doing things a certain way, you have to stick to those beliefs and values and be consistent with it, because that's going to help your confidence in a way that's like, I'm more authentic when I'm consistent with certain things in my life, because I just feel like nothing can faze me. And it's like I held myself that, I gave myself the ability to trust myself. So I'm just more like, I can be authentic, because if I can be authentic in myself and authentic inside out, then I don't think inconsistency is something I can add. Although I could say that we're not perfect, like inconsistencies only come when we feel like sometimes there are roadblocks on the way and we try to get rid of them. But we have to be consistent within our own values and beliefs, because it's so important for us to know that as we build those things, we're gonna become more authentic. And within being authentic, also vulnerability is so important. Being open with yourself, being open to your friends, there's nothing wrong with being open. I think the mistake we make is that we often think that like we have to close off our hearts. We have to close off ourselves from, experiencing things. But in reality, like if you don't open yourself up for more experiences, just like I mentioned, like when you, for example, want to take a risk in something, it's because you're stepping out of your comfort zone. So just like exactly like that, if you're open with yourself, you're vulnerable with the closest people around you, you're only going to be receiving feedback. And there's nothing better than receiving feedback going forward, because we learn from other people's advice for us and we learn from our own experiences. But being open is really important, and being vulnerable helps you become more authentic. And just to wrap up this authenticity section, I think it's so important for us to really understand what makes us unique. You have to be aware of what sets you different. And the moment you start to be aware of what sets you different, you're going to be more authentic than you ever imagined, because you're going to be like, okay, I know I am so unique in this area of my life. So for me, no matter how honest I come out across, your ideas about yourself will hold very tight when you're becoming authentic. It won't faze you. It won't shake you. It will make you think that no matter what, I'm honest with myself. I know there's a lot of unique things about me. I'm being vulnerable with myself, and I'm very aware of my values and beliefs. So this is to wrap up the first section, is on cultivating authenticity. Section number 2 is literally prioritize yourself and setting boundaries. I think this is something I struggled with for a very long time. And I think sometimes I still feel like I could grow on it, but there's literally nothing than prioritizing your own self-growth and your own time. Because the more you spend time alone, and I think I've started realizing that after COVID, when a lot of things like close and you're spending more time alone, and you start to realize there's a lot I can grow on. Like there's a lot of things I can do to grow on. So if we spend more time understanding that we have the time to put within ourselves in regarding personal growth, there's literally nothing like that. And it's just gonna make you value yourself more, because the more you're aware of the areas you need to grow on and you're actually working towards it, it's gonna build your confidence over time, because there's nothing better or makes someone more confident than someone who's aware of their flaws, someone who's aware of their strengths and weaknesses. So put effort on yourself and love yourself, because honestly, I would say this, like, for a very long time, I feel like I used to question why certain people would not give me the same attention I gave them. But I started to realize, had I given myself that attention, I wouldn't even have the spare time to question that. And I feel like when you love yourself, you're gonna attract the right people, like, because you're really showing yourself that you're valuable. So you're only gonna accept people who value you just like you value yourself. And obviously, tying back to the point of openness earlier, giving love as well is so important, because oftentimes we close off ourselves thinking, oh, I've gotten hurt before, I don't want to open up. No, that's wrong, because if you keep closing yourself off, you're never going to experience. And taking risks, like I said earlier, is taking yourself outside of your comfort zone. So just remember to do that. The next point is setting boundaries, like knowing where your limits are. Honestly, over time, I started to realize that for me to be successful, for me to continuously grow myself, I have to set boundaries. Where can I really allow energy to come into my life? Where am I not accepting it? And how do I even know what are my limits if I don't start setting boundaries and people push on them? You need to know your limits. You need to have limits, so that when you question yourself, say, this is not something I'm gonna allow in my life. There's nothing better and makes someone more successful than someone who knows their limits. The next point, which is so important for self-respect, is protecting your peace. Know when to walk away. There's a lot of situations where we feel like, okay, I really want to walk away, but there's something there that maybe I made a mistake on. It's okay to clarify those things. It's okay to get them out of the way, so you don't ever feel like you've made a mistake. You clarify that, but the moment you feel like you're being taken advantage of, walk away. Just like you know how to set boundaries for your limits, know when to actually protect your peace and not allow anyone to interrupt that peace, because our peace is so important. And I know sometimes we feel like we go through situations where we feel like we may have taken away someone else's peace, but there's always value in communication. If you express yourself and you allow others to express themselves and you're listening to each other, it's so important, because protecting our peace there's nothing like it. The moment you allow people to keep coming into your life and disturbing your peace, you're gonna start to realize that you really have no boundaries and you're not gonna respect yourself. So for you to become successful and to continue elevating your personal growth levels, you have to have some self-respect. And just to wrap up this section about self-respect and boundaries, know your worth. Do not allow anyone to tell you what your worth is. This is something I'm so happy to be sharing it with you today, is because I honestly struggled with it for a long time. And I don't know if it's called imposter syndrome, but I feel like I used to think that, and it's not even people's opinion about me, it's just people not acknowledging my success. It used to make me think I'm less worthy of it. So it's just like the moment I started to realize that I'm not waiting or expecting anyone to applaud me or tell me you did great. I keep telling myself that. And the moment I started taking that acknowledgement for myself and not expecting it from others, I got way more successful. Because it's more like, if you know your self-worth, you're gonna become successful, because no one else can faze you. No one's opinion is gonna change what you think about yourself, and there's nothing more powerful than what is going on in our minds and what we tell ourselves we are. So understand that, know your boundaries, know your value, set your limits, know your worth. That way you're gonna build self-respect towards success and personal growth. The third section is building healthy relationships. Be around people who support your authenticity. Be around people who are happy that you're honest with them. Don't be around people who just, every time you're honest with them, they get very offended or they just start pulling away from you. You have to be able to set healthy relationships for your life to become better, because we are literally the average of the 5 people we spend most of our times with. So imagine if you're spending it with people who don't encourage your success or don't encourage you being honest and authentic and just being yourself. People who think you're too much and you're too extra, it's not for you. It may not work for them, but it has nothing to do with you. So just be able to choose actually people who support your authenticity and healthy relationships, whether it's friendships, partners, families. You need to understand that is so important. The environment we're in, it says a lot about us. The second point on this one is energy awareness. This is my favorite point, because honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a very spiritual person and I feel energy. If something doesn't sit right with me, I trust my instincts. If I feel like someone is not good to me, I just try to follow my instincts. Because like, you know, when you give energy, you can reciprocate it. You can literally feel if there's negative energy in the room. You can feel that someone's positive, you know? So I feel like you have to trust your instincts when it comes to energy, because it's so important to be aware of our energies around us. Because just like earlier when I mentioned protect your peace, protect your energy. Not everyone is worthy of it. And it's not like we wake up next morning and our energy is charged. It doesn't work like a battery. Our life and our energy within our spirits and the higher self is something that can be depleted. Even if you sleep and wake up and you think it's recharged, no. It's because you're keeping bad energy around you. So be very aware of that. The next point on this one is receiving love. Don't ever reject love. You know, you're worthy of it. And I know sometimes we just think that, you know, I don't want to take love from anyone. Look, love is God sent. If literally you're getting love, if you're, you know, getting joy, it's something that God is sending to you through someone else. So why are you refusing it? Be open. Be obviously with limits. But what I'm trying to say is that don't ever close off receiving love, because I feel like it really helps our success and it really helps our ability to trust ourselves. The last point on this section on building healthy relationships is build basic manners. Just as much you expect someone to say thank you or sorry or hold the door for someone who's walking in. That is so important, because basic manners start to make us understand that we have etiquette. You know, and I know this whole video is about personal growth, but just remember how I mentioned earlier that it's a journey, not a destination. All these little things accumulate over time. And if you start practicing it once a day, it's going to become second nature to you. So for you to build basic manners, like if you walk and you see someone, dropped something, and an old man dropped something, you help them, you know, you hold the door for someone, you say thank you. All these things like accumulate over time to your personal growth. I know it seems more like an outside thing, but personal growth is an accumulation of internal and external. Because if you don't have basic manners, it's like, why should you expect it from people? You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, if I give basic manners, I always expect the same. So I'm not really disappointed as much, because I feel like energy is so real. Like what you give is what you receive. Section 4 is such a great section because it's all about personal empowerment. The first point I want to talk about here is start to fix internal issues before you seek external validation. The reason why this is so important is because you will never, no matter how much people validate you, if you don't fix the internal issues, it's never going to be enough. Just exactly what I mentioned earlier is like when I started to realize that my personal growth is so important and the time I spend alone is so important, whatever people say or validate, it doesn't really make a difference to me anymore. I love it. Maybe I love hearing it sometimes, but like I start to work internally so I can be able, that external validation, if it comes from me, it would be exactly the same as if it came from someone else, or even better. So I think fix internal issues before you start to seek people to actually validate you, because it will not make a difference if you're still broken inside. And the next point is self-reliance. It's also kind of related to this, but it's like, trust yourself for your own issues and for your own problems. Don't rely on people. Like honestly, whether it's a family, whether it's a friend, just rely on yourself. Because literally nothing will make you feel more successful than if you can actually pick up yourself by yourself. Nothing. It is your responsibility to save yourself. No one else's. And it's going to lower your expectations and lower your disappointments, because now you're not expecting so much from people. And the next point here is about confidence building. Like celebrate your little wins. Honestly, just take yourself out on a nice date. Yourself, yes. Literally buy yourself something that you really like if you accomplish something. You know, take yourself out to whatever. It's so important to celebrate ourselves. So important. And then to wrap up this personal empowerment section is assertiveness. Give advice only when it's needed. Just protect your energy. Honestly, like if no one asks you for advice, just listen. Like you don't always have to give advice where it's not needed. So protect your energy, because whenever you get so emotionally invested in a situation where no one even asks for your advice, it's like you're volunteering your energy where it's not needed. So give it when it's needed and protect your energy when it's not. And just to wrap up this whole video, for the last section is body positivity and self-care. Look at yourself in the mirror, and I know you've heard this so many times. Look at yourself in the mirror and just be happy with who you are. Whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, just be positive with who you are. Tell yourself the things you want to hear every single morning. Even if you think that will make you look crazy, who cares? It's all in the mind. Everything is all under your control. Appreciate your individuality, like embrace everything about you, your uniqueness, what sets you different. And then always ensure that you're taking care of your mental health. That is so important. I think a lot of times there's a stigma with mental health where people, when they talk about it and stuff, it's like, no. If you feel like there's something wrong with you, get checked up. Talk to some therapist. Like, talk to a friend. Like, talk to anyone who you feel like knows who you are, and start to really see, like, identify what's going on. What are those feelings? Journal it out. Try to map it out. Whatever works for you. It's so important to take care of ourselves for us to become more successful and to have this journey towards personal growth. And then gratitude is my last point. Learn when to say sorry and thank you, whether to yourself, to others. It's so important to also forgive. I feel like forgiveness, people think like, I don't want to forgive this person, they really hurt me. Forgiveness helps you. It doesn't help them. They don't care. They hurt you already. Forgiveness is letting go of these grudges. It's purifying your soul. Like, it's putting yourself internally at peace. So forgiveness is so important, even if they don't know, even if you never tell them. So that's it for my video of 5 ways to elevate your success through personal growth, live a more authentic life, self-fulfilling life. And I think it's so important to just be at peace. I've literally like had so much situations in my life where I feel like right now I'm at peace. Literally, like, this silence, it's so nice to me. Like, it speaks so much louder than words. So thank you for watching this video, and I would love to hear more about what your ideas are in personal growth, success, and elevating yourself in authenticity. Oh my god, I always struggle with this word, but authenticity. I loved making this video because it's so important to me, and I hope it's also important to you, and I hope you can take those lessons and, you know, practice them and understand it is a journey, not a destination. Bye. I'll see you next time.